Welcome everyone to Office Hours. I'm your host, Stuart Newsom, and as always, I'm here taking a practical look at how revenue cycle workflows actually operate in real healthcare environments. Today's session is no different, as it's titled "AI Document Capture is Not Plug and Play." And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on what it really takes to move from document extraction to document capture workflows that scale, and that's the important piece at scale. I'm really pleased to have us joining us again today is Charu Nevatia. Charu is our Associate Vice President of Automation here at Infinix, and she works closely with healthcare organizations implementing AI-driven document capture across a wide range of use cases within that platform. She spends a lot of her time helping teams, both internally and externally, translate extracted data into workflows that systems can actually use. Which makes her the perfect person to walk us through this topic today. So, Charu, before we dive in, how are you doing today?
Hey Stuart, good morning. Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. It's great to have you here. We were just talking about how we haven't done this in a minute, right? So, really anxious
Been
to,
a while.
really excited for you to be on today.
Very happy to be here.
I'm going to set some time. Yeah, go ahead.
Very happy to be here. It's been a while.
Yes, yes. So, I was going to set a little bit of context to further expand on what we're going to discuss today, because it's not really about extraction. It's more about what happens after extraction. Document capture is often one of the first places organizations look to when they start applying AI. It just seems to be one of the greatest starting points. So extraction has become more reliable. Accuracy has improved tremendously, and even some early pilots often look very promising. But what we want to explore today is how teams take that extracted data and then turn it into something operational. How it gets classified, validated, routed, posted, and integrated, and all that stuff that is so much needed after extraction, really into those existing systems so workflows continue to work and move smoothly. So this session is about understanding all those components that make document capture work consistently at scale without any disruption to your current workflows. Now, as always, we're going to have a Q&A session at the end. So please drop any questions you have in the Q&A box down below. And if you have any comments, always interested to hear any insights or experiences that you have. Please share those. We can actually point those out as well. So again, as time allows, we'll answer your questions. And if we can't provide the answer, we will find the answer for you. But believe me, we have the expert on with us today. So, Charo, you ready to dive in?
Looking forward. Let's start.
Awesome, awesome. So, Charo, first question is kind of setting the stage with the whole point about extraction has improved. Just can you start with why has AI made document extraction more reliable? How does that create new opportunities for automation beyond extraction?
Sure. So, the optical character recognition or the OCR, that's what most of the industry talks about today, has been a technology that has been around. This was a technology where you needed to know what the document template looks like. You could annotate what data you want to extract out of it. And then, as the number of forms came in, which looked similar, the technology was good enough to extract data with certain accuracy assigned to it. Uh, but one of the biggest challenges that everybody faced was, especially in healthcare, the kind of forms that come in, it's very tough to standardize it. And every provider, every radiologist may probably have different forms that they need to take care of. And this technology would not scale as quickly because it needed some amount of development in the background. Now, with the uh, Gen AI coming into light in the last 2 years, that's where the technology enablement happened. And now we have Gen AI, which takes care of reasoning, understands context, and it's no more tied to a format. And I think that's what made solutioning for various forms much easier. And I think that was the right time for us to. We've been into technology for the longest time. We've always been at the cutting edge of technology. And we realized that this is what is going to help our customers solve one of their biggest problems, which is the paper faxes that they keep getting in. whether it's referral orders or it is charges that they get through various back office processing, or even invoices for that matter. And Gen AI definitely made it easier for us to process it because now it understands the context.
Yep, and that's so key because because when I show the solution to prospects and even existing clients, it seems like the light bulb goes off when I talk about what you just said about how it understands context. And I basically tell people what that means is just like a human figures out where the date of birth is on a piece of paper, they understand this is a date and this is someone's birthday. Instead of a field that's maybe out of place or broken, the Gen AI and the agents that we create for that, they figure it out just like a human would. They're trained to do so, and that to me is has always been a game changer.
True.
Um, one of the next, so after extraction, because that's what we
Mhm.
want to talk about today, is because the extraction piece. I'm not saying it's easy, but it seems to be, and not necessarily becoming a commodity, but it does seem to be where that's where most people get it right or close to right than anything else. But then, what happens once the data is extracted? What are those additional steps that are required to turn that data into something systems can actually use and even human specialists can actually use?
Right. And that's a very important area to think of because we need to recognize Gen AI as just a tool, right? And just having a tool is going to just enable you to solution better. But most of the times we've realized that we need to think of solution on what is it that the human does. Human just doesn't look at a facts that they've got and extract data, but there is reasoning that happens. There are certain rules that need to be applied because this data cannot be transferred into the downstream system, which could be a risk, which could be a billing system, which could be some kind of Salesforce, like an application which needs invoice
Mhm.
to be entered. All these applications have their own format, they have their own searches, rules that need to be applied. So while a human is extracting data out of a document, it is not just getting transferred as is. It's not a simple copy paste. There is reasoning, there are rules, there are transformation that this data needs to go through to make sense to a digital system that's going to store it. And I think that's the last mile where we've seen that with every system that we come across, there are nuances that need to be taken care of. And that's where the uphill starts. So, data extraction, of course, has its own accuracy measurements, its own deviations that we, as a company that has been backed by data science and AI engineers for a long time, we do understand how to have a good, strong model take care of it. But now the solutioning, when it comes in, is how do I take this data into my customer system in the format and the rules that they care of? And that's where the true solutioning starts for us.
Right, right, exactly. So I guess that leads into my next question because I mean that is very important. You have this data now. What do you got to do to it? And if something's broken, where you don't know where it needs to go, how does it need to get there, and is it accessible? Where it needs to be for that human specialist. Um, but how does the document classification and validation support confidence and consistency as that document volume increases? Because we talk to clients all the time and they have tremendous volumes, and not just tremendous volumes in one particular classification of documents. It can be all kind of documents that has to be sorted. And so you have to imagine, the AI extraction is one thing, but now all this data, it needs to go know where to put it all. So what's that confidence and
Exactly. So you bring in a very good question, right? While I was talking about data extraction and sending it to the system, we're forgetting that none of these documents are always perfect. There could be a very bad quality scan that has come in. There is a scan where the referral physician forgot to put in date of birth, or maybe the signature that is a must have for some of the documents was missing. Now, these are certain validations where we would want to put it in sooner than later. Imagine I had a bad document with incomplete information sent to the EMR, and then at the time of scheduling, we're figuring out, oh my God, we didn't have all the information. Now we're going back. So these are some of the intelligence or the business rules that we understand that I would want to have a clean intake so that my scheduling is easier and so that my further processing of prior auth eligibility check is done well. We do have quality checks. Now, quality checks can be of multiple kinds. It's just a bad document. It's a document where our confidence is low because there are a couple of crosses across random boxes, which we think a human specialist needs to look at. Or it could be some of the key parameters, like doctor said, if there is a particular procedure, I need somebody to validate it twice, make sure it's covered before it gets into scheduling. So these are the quality checks that we brought into the system. And now we can do it at scale because this is an application or a platform that we built on a scalable architecture, which will be able to process these documents at a certain pace. So just to give you an example, right? Some of the customers we talk to, they want to schedule their customers or the patients as soon as we get the fax order, maybe in 30 minutes. But
Mhm.
imagine there is a sudden surge, and now the doctor wants to make sure that everything is processed in time. All we need to do is understand there's going to be a surge. It's a new year. There is an event that's happening because of which there are going to be higher checkups that need to be planned. I just have to increase my infrastructure. My agents can scale on demand. I could plan for it. It could be something that we know that this is the maximum volume I get to. So I can have better infrastructure. I can have better quality checks. I could have clean integrations downstream. And all this does help me in reducing my turnaround time because now the consistency of the system will help process things in a cleaner way and hence better patient experience at the end of it.
Right, right. Consistency is good, right?
Yes.
Making sure it's done correctly, and that kind of speaks to the scalability of it all. So,
Yes.
um, and now that next phase is where that data needs to go, and making sure it's consistent because you may have different types of documents, and based on that type of document, it needs to go to a certain place. So my next question is, why are posting rules and EMR requirements, really such an important part of designing that scalability for the document capture workflow?
So this has been a very interesting conversation with most of the customers where data is extracted great. You have the business rules perfect. Can you integrate it into our system? Yes, we have HL7, SFTP, various other ways of integrating into the system. But where the current challenge is when you end up creating duplicate orders or when you end up creating duplicate patients because there was John Smith and there was a W. Smith. And the systems and the integrations today are not capable of identifying that, oh, it's the same patient, don't create a new patient. And now the data split between two patients, and now you have to delete one and watch. So that continues to be a challenge with most of the EMRs. And that is where, with most of our customers, we've been working on identifying, is there a way for us to check the duplicate patients sooner than later? And
Mm-hmm.
most of the EMRs are not supporting that today. It has been a challenge, and we've been working on various solutions where we try to bring in certain integrations or getting some base information from our customer system to help them not because automation can really start adding data into an EMR, which you did not want to go there. And that could affect the long-term setup of that particular EMR or the downstream system. So the last mile is something that current systems are not yet ready to support. We have multiple different solutions of checking for existing patient or checking for the CPT ICD that should be mapped into the customer's EMR, which could be very different from what is universally available.
All
So
right.
those are the areas where I think EMR integrations do need proper solutioning. And that is what we've been experiencing and learning as we work with our customers.
And I would imagine that's kind of challenging because every EHR, even though they have similar statuses and in one ways are same, but they're extremely different on how they go about that. And
Right. And
so it can be
it could
very
be
difficult.
e-clinical work, but every physician has their own setup. They have
Right.
their own preferences and settings because that's the beauty of an EMR, right? It gives you the way you want to set it up. But that also brings in challenges on your physician list is different. Your facilities are getting added. The CPTs that you care about are very different. And that brings in the solutioning and the right solutioning that we provide.
Right. Exactly. So, and of course, we're talking about integration, and part of that integration is the human component, and which kind of leads to the next question is exception handling. So how does effective exception handling, and I'll let you explain that, what we mean by that, help, document capture workflows remain reliable, over time.
Right. And I think that's the most important thing. While we may think that LLMs are perfect, but they do have their deviations in the responses to the same set of information that's given to them. Um, you do have times when it could extract certain set of information very easily, but the next run it cannot. And it's just that that's how the LLMs behave. And that's where it's different from OCR because OCR was something that was coded with what text to pick up from which exact location, right?
Hmm.
Now, that brings in, there are times when complete data was not extracted. The confidence score that I was talking to you about, we have confidence score at every text that was extracted. If there is a business rule which requires some kind of database query or it needs another AI agent to be invoked, again, we use these confidence code to say, is this something that I can fully automate and send it to downstream? Or it is the exception case that should wait for the human to come in, or it's our specialist who will come in, look at the data, validate, yes, this is what I want, and move it forward. So this is more about ingestion part of it when the data comes in. What if I went to a downstream system, I couldn't find the patient? Or if I figured out that this order already existed, I don't want to create a duplicate order.
Right.
So when we integrate with downstream systems, we're making sure we're not adding additional documentation unless required. However, we do list down all these faxes that came in. The data is not lost. It's just that they get tagged right and they're available for future audits. And to figure out that, oh, there was this document. This is why we did not add it. And we strongly recommend these reviews or audits to be done even for an AI agent working on it. So the way you would audit human specialists' work, there is a practice that we set up with our customers where we also do audits of the AI agent's work, just to make sure that the quality is maintained and if there are any deviations on it.
Awesome. Awesome. And so, yeah. And so kind of leads to, the next question, because you have a teams, and I consider the agent part of the team now. But what changes when teams move from a successful pilot? So that's what kind of where the rubber meets the road, to running this fully in production, at scale. Because we've seen it all the time where there's like the pilot made good, the demo was great. We had all these meetings. We set out a plan, an implementation plan, and now we're actually live, and we're having the experience of using it real time. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. So I normally call our growth or the ramp period of go live more like a hockey stick. So whenever there's a new technology that's introduced, the first thing that is it is looked at is with a wow, and the second step is a doubt on, oh my God, is this going to not make my system look good? Or do I have to change a lot of processes? Or I don't want to change my system. Why do you have human in the loop? So there has been a realization that there needs to be enough of education and collaboration with the customer that we do. We don't want to rush into go live with 100% volume in the first month. We know it takes time for them to get used to the new system, the new processes, the audit process, and we handhold our customers through that. Most of the time, the first 30% takes time to get ramped up. But once the confidence, the process, and the people are aligned, I think rest of the ramp up is like in another month's time. So
Mhm.
30/60 is what I've seen, or 30/70 is what I've seen. 10% I was considering as part of the pilot. 30% is when you go live, and the remaining 60% is pretty quick. But we do recognize uh, it's not a linear scale. It's a hockey stick comfort that is required, where there is a little slowdown and then there is a good pace that we pick up with confidence, people, process. So that's how our ramp ups look. And they have, once you get used to it, I think then it's just audit, reviews, and fine tuning it further for better accuracy.
Right. You kind of go through this calibration phase, right? So,
Yes.
especially with, and then they may create other use cases because then word gets out. Hey, this is awesome. What can we do for particular use cases? And then hopefully that won't affect the scale or ramp up of what you're focused on for that first use case, and not get, I guess, distracted. But it's a good thing, that hey, yeah, there's more use cases. They have the flexibility and agility to look into those other use cases that they want to explore as well.
You're absolutely right. And I think we started with referral orders, but the moment those pilots were successful, they saw value in it, and there was confidence with people, process, and technology. I did see us getting more use cases within the same group because now there were other departments. Someone who's processing invoices, there is someone who's processing RCM based information, which is charge sheets that they get or the lockbox documents that they get. We started seeing those come in, and I think we were able to expand. So, anytime a new document comes in, for us to train an AI model is a not a very time consuming activity. Of course, there is a process that we've set up on what
Mhm.
kind of sample documents, how do we train our model, how do you measure the efficacy. So, I think over a period of time, we've got our processes together on how to take in a new use case, how to deploy it without affecting an existing use case that's running. And we also recognize that order entry use case has to be taken care of with different business rules. I've seen rules change at a facility level. Every facility wants to treat their documents with different tags, different processing time. And we
Mhm.
have been able to evolve to that without affecting the existing ones that run. So I think that's the good part of architecting a good platform where configurability and variations are supported with very easy lift.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know we've had a lot of experience in this and probably have seen a lot of the way it should be done and also the way it shouldn't be done. So, with the last question I have for you is, when evaluating document capture solutions, what indicators should leaders look for that suggest a workflow that will scale successfully for them?
So I think if anybody promises that we're just going to do end to end without any human in the loop, it doesn't work. You will always have human in the loop. And there are multiple reasons for that. One is there will be exceptions. And I truly tell my team, when in doubt, don't. I don't want to enter wrong information downstream because it has a long-term impact on the patient's care as well as the financial clearances or it is the claim processing. So unless you are not very confident about the data that you're going to enter, and there are various ways to check on that, you should bring it to humans' attention. Earlier it used to take 3 minutes, now it takes 1 minute, but it's worth that 1 minute to save all the pain that you could have later. So most of the AI processing today, especially in the healthcare area, where there is scribble, there is checkboxes, there's bad quality document, will always need at least some amount of human attention just for the exception part of it. And the second thing I would always suggest is always have an audit process. Doesn't matter if it is quality of a human specialist or an AI agent. There has to be reasonable, repeated checks done on the outcomes and see if there are variations happening. Because as the models evolve, and that's what we do pretty regularly. So as the models evolve, their behaviors change, and there could be a drift that you should keep an eye on. So while as an AI enabled organization that we've been, we understand these nuances. And we also have our customers make sure that there are regular audits. It's not turn on and forget. You kind of keep looking at it and make sure it is maintained and managed. So those are the two key things that I would always let anybody who's looking at such a solution look at.
Right, right. And I like the fact that you mentioned audits because it's just like, I mean, you wouldn't just hire an employee and give them a login and they'd go at it, right? You would monitor that employee as well. Same with an agent. Same with the AI that's doing all this work. You just want to make
Yeah,
sure it's performing correctly and monitor it ongoing. But also the audit piece is very important. That's why the reporting is so
yeah,
important as well.
yeah,
You know, so they can have that visibility and transparency into what is actually happening. So if there is a problem, you can diagnose it and figure out, what needs correcting, what needs course correction along the way.
exactly. And you
So,
rightly said, right?
yeah, yep,
Sorry. So you rightly said, right? Even the forms could change. Providers change their format, and maybe there is some different information which the model is not used to seeing and starts misrepresenting data, especially phone numbers for that matter. The
right.
fax number, there was a scribble, and then they kind of handwrite that one. We have seen, I think there was a scenario where there was a paper which had a stamp of address change and even a human could not catch it. So AI definitely got confused with that. So hence these audits help to catch these variations in case something is missed. So AI is not 100% accurate. We always say it's somewhere between 92 to 95%. And it's
Right.
always good to see if you do audits and find those remaining 7% of variations that could be there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's always going to be the human in the loop just for that reason right there.
Yeah.
So that's all the questions I have for you, Charu. But I do want to go to the audience now and see if there's any questions. So I'm going to take a quick peek and see. And it looks like there is one question here, and it's um, how much variability in document formats can AI document capture realistically handle before workflows need human intervention? You may have answered this a little bit throughout the presentation, but um, yeah, and I can repeat the
Um,
question if you need it.
I think I get a sense. So I don't think document format is a problem. Uh, but yes, when we are building context for our AI models to understand, there are some cues that we give as part of training these models. And if there's a drastic change, so far I've not seen many. But whenever I'm onboarding our new customers with documents into our system, I always try to run some samples first. As long as I have a decent 20 to 30 size sample of variations, I think the model can be fine-tuned to make sure that all the scenarios are covered. And then these audits would help us further see if there are some outliers that we need to take care of. But otherwise, I don't think I've seen a lot of issues. If an order form is an order form, it looks like a certain structure with 7, 8, 10 elements. If it has an insurance ID along with it, we understand that, oh, this is an order form and this is an insurance ID. But if there is a totally different form, like an addendum that comes in and my model has never seen it before, there are chances it may not recognize it and may just call it order. So, yes, if there is a new form that got added in, which it could not classify, we've seen some amount of correction in how we classify it is required.
Good, awesome. Yeah. So one more question that I see in here for teams just starting with document capture, which downstream considerations should be addressed early to avoid rework later? Sounds like someone with some experience there.
Um, I think it's always good to specify one, what data you care about that should be added to your downstream system as a mandatory field. And if there are any conversions, like our system accepts only 3 characters followed by numbers. Our system expects you to convert uh, if XYZ information is not found. Like in one of the systems, we knew that we would not get gender in most of the forms, and then we were told that just mark it as unknown and don't leave it blank because that's how their system worked. So if there are any downstream rules that we should be aware of, any business rules we should be aware of, we should discuss those sooner so that when the integration happens, you get the right set of data, which is clean as per your system's expectation. I think that's the only thing from a data perspective. And then, of course, we should validate the connection type. Is there an API integration available? Is there an RPA-based integration that we will have to do? Or is it just manual entry because none of the other options are possible? Those also kind of help you decide your ROI on how much of automation or lift that you would get if you get into Doc Capture Plus with us.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Well, Charu, I want to thank you for being on. It's always a pleasure. One of my favorite guests, goes without saying, right? So, but just great insights, especially sharing that what you know for teams that are trying to move document capture from promising initiative into reliable operational workflows. So, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Stuart, for having me. It's always fun, and I look forward to more such sessions, helping our
Yes,
viewers
absolutely.
learn about our systems more.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to thank every one of you also for joining us today. And just, I know we'll also have this on demand on our website. You can actually visit our website at infinix.com. We have more articles, case studies, and even additional insights that for anything in the RCM workflow. So you can go out there and check that out. You can also look at this on our podcast. We always repurpose our office hours for our podcast. It's called Revenue Cycle Optimized, and we have additional episodes as well that you can listen to. So I encourage you to go out there. So really appreciate everyone joining us today, and we'll see you next time on Office Hours.